Hey everyone, this is Faze.
This is Kareem.
And we are on episode 3 of Creators Today. Do you know how many watch hours we've had on the first 2 episodes combined?
Please tell me.
Over 600 hours. That is absolutely fantastic. So thank you for tuning in and giving us the love and support.
Thank you.
And now we're on episode 3, and we have an amazing content creator with us today.
Yeah.
And she's actually a great friend of my wife and I.
Wow.
So let's introduce her.
Yeah, this is my first time meeting her. She has over 18,000 followers on TikTok with over 3 million views. She is
Reema Ukani.
Hello, I'm happy to be here. You guys have done so well on your first
Thank you.
step.
Thank you so much.
And you have done really well on TikTok as well.
Different platform, very different audience, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. It's been a ride.
No, and you know, we're so excited because the whole concept of Creators Today is bring content creators like yourself, right? And just talk about your workflow, your experience, you know, what it's been like for you. And I think, you know, I've been following you for quite some time. And what's so astonishing is the fact that, you know, she would just do normal lifestyle videos, right? And it's that one video she did that just kind of, you know, took her next level. So do you want to talk a little bit about, you know, how you were doing TikTok before?
Yeah.
How you got into that, you know, concept of creating that video, and then how you took it from there.
Yeah. It's actually a kind of crazy story. So kind of like a lot of other girls or creators or whatever, I wouldn't have called myself a content creator in that I wasn't consistent by any means. I was just kind of one of those, like, a fun video here, a trending audio video there, a dance here, whatever. Like, I would just show up kind of for fun. And then, which we can get into this later, but my concept of like what it really meant to show up on social media has shifted since I've gained a community on TikTok, and I use those words very carefully. Back in August, I sort of had this like life event. I come from, you know, was raised in a very small Shia subsect of Islam, and I had opened up the Quran and started reading and reverted.
Now, you mentioned the word reverted.
Yeah.
I kind of explained that to me because I think when someone says reverted, it means you're going back to. I thought the word should be converted because you're changing to. Kind of explain that to me and anyone else who's wondering.
Yeah, so we say revert in Islam because the concept is the thought process behind it is that in Islam you believe everyone is born with the inclination to believe in one God, one creator. So anything that comes after that point of birth, like whatever influence there might be, that might change that. You know, maybe you become some other faith or whatever it is. But when you find your way back to Islam or the core belief in one God, a very like monotheistic religion, that you revert to your true innate being. So you say revert instead of convert.
Okay. Well, there's the answer for all of you who are wondering. I also wanted to know. Okay.
That was back in August 2022. And then November comes around, and I'm still sort of in the process of reverting, reading Quran, doing all of those things. And a girlfriend reached out to me who had been part of my previous community that I came from. And we sat down after Friday prayer and we chatted for 4 hours.
Wow.
We just had so much to say, so many shared experiences. And she herself had reverted a couple of years before I had, but she had really been struggling with some internal things, some familial things. And so she was wondering how I navigated it. And really the only way that she knew was because she saw me post on Instagram on her stories. So it just happened to be like a weird thing. So over that weekend, I took the time to think about like what that really meant. And I had the thought to post on TikTok because at the time, back in November, people were posting a lot about their revert stories. It was a time when things in Palestine were just happening and people in America were watching other folks stand amongst the rubble, decaying bodies, all sorts of things. And they were seeing the amount of faith that the Palestinian people had, and they were reverting themselves. And so I thought this timing would be really kind of wild. And my thesis at the time was, if I post this, I will be able to reach out to a lot of other people like her. What if there are other people out in the world? Because the subsect that I come from, you're very much silenced when you leave. And it's a very scary thing. And I just wanted to be able to kind of allow other people to share their stories or find commonality where they might not have been able to previously.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted that one video, my first video of real substance. It was December 2022 or 2023.
Very recent.
Very recent, just about 6 or 7 months ago. And that video, as expected, went very viral. And that's sort of how we started.
And I remember I was watching it. It was actually Sean, my brother, after he came up and was like, oh, look at this video. You know, Reema just posted this video. And I was like, okay, let me watch, right? And I watched and I was like, this is going to start some conversations and a lot of discussions, because it is a scary thing, right?
Yeah.
For sure. You do have family members and friends who are maybe, for them, that sect of community that you came from, that to them is everything. And then to kind of say that, hey, I left it, right? And what I really like about you, Reema, is that you're very respectful towards all communities, right? So even though you left that community, you're still very respectful towards them. How did you feel at the time when you were about to click that post button, right? And you have a lot of family members and friends who are in that community. How did you feel in that second?
I felt, I'm not going to lie to you, my heart was racing when I clicked post and I kept refreshing the page. And so I saw the number just like going up and up and up. And I'm like, oh, and then eventually you'll hit a number and it's kind of like all the trolls will come in and people are arguing. I didn't really sleep well at all that night. And it's so public, and like my family is not, it was a lot. It was a lot for sure.
Now, speaking of trolls, some people will like your content, some people will not like it, right? And clearly what you talked about was slightly controversial, right? So
slightly?
Yeah, I was about to say slightly. This is an interesting topic.
So let me ask you, how was it dealing with trollers in the beginning and how it is now? Because I read some of the comments. So how do you deal with that?
When my videos started to go viral, people were saying really scary things. But after a while, because I'm posting so consistently, you start to notice the same names.
Right. You would get
right.
I have gotten, I have had all sorts of experiences, but yeah. And it was like, it was crazy because it was just the same people. So I'm thinking, okay, this video has hundreds of thousands of views, maybe 1 million views. And it's the same 20 people, the same 20 names. So like, I'm not super worried about it because at this point I know who they are.
Yeah.
And I've grown enough that for some of them I'll hit block because they just irritate me, because if I'm not having good thoughts about someone, I don't want them on my page because that's not a good reflection of me. I just don't want those thoughts in my head. No other reason. But yeah, I think just having a platform that actually has some substance where what I'm talking about matters so much that the other stuff just doesn't.
I've had similar experiences with haters and people. I try not to read the disrespectful ones, but when you're reading the nice ones, you kind of come into the bad ones. I just block them, or I delete the comment. But sometimes I'll leave it there, depending on how I'm feeling, depending on how bad it is.
I'm kind of in that similar boat. In the beginning, when I started YouTube, I would post videos which are so cringy when I look back at them.
Same, bro. Yeah. Some of them are private for me.
Everybody, yeah.
And so I would get a lot of support. And it was just literally, it was just good comments, right? So I was getting used to that. But as I grew, I realized that there were also some haters. Well, we're not just haters, but like people who will call you out for certain things and stuff like that. And that would kind of hurt.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'd get like 100 good comments, and it's just that one negative comment that would kind of just stick with me the whole day. But I think what I've realized is that you have to have thick skin when you're in this game. What I've noticed is that sometimes it's the ones like the haters or the trollers that they're the most vocal and loud, right? So that doesn't always mean that your content is bad. It just means that they're just very loud.
Yeah, they keep watching.
They keep watching.
When you're watching a video, you might open the comment section and you just start reading. That's what keeps people engaged.
Right.
So to some extent, you do want people having fruitful conversation in your comment section.
Right.
And often people feel called to comment when they feel very particular about a certain thing, either very positively or very negatively. And you have a lot of like angry arguers in your comment section, but that can be really good for virality.
You're right. When it comes to overall engagement, I think that is the number one thing that matters for any platform. The more commenters you have, the more conversations that are starting, the more traction that it gets, the more YouTube and TikTok throws that video to more viewers.
I think for TikTok, what you're really focused on is the first 2 or 3 seconds of your video because of that just like constant, exactly. And so what you'd really want to do is like catch someone by saying something off guard. And if you start to notice it when you're going through your For You page, someone might say something completely out of left field, but then the rest of the video is pretty moderate. They're not actually like, they don't have this insane belief or anything like that. They're just really trying to grab your attention. And there are also other things you can do, like use text while you're talking so people are reading while they're seeing it. Or there could be movement because like naturally you're like, well, what are you grabbing? And so there's a variety of different tactics, I guess, marketing tactics you can use and like test out. And the thing with TikTok is you're posting at a much more frequent rate than YouTube.
Right.
So there's a lot more testing you can do.
Yeah. So going back to those tactics, because I'm very interested, and I'm sure the viewers are, what tactics that you've used or you've seen others use, right, that you think really works for content creation, especially short form content like what you create?
And I'm kind of iffy about one, which is lighting.
Okay.
More often than not, like you want to see good lighting when you're flicking through because you're just more interested in like looking at something. And I think that's true for probably any platform. But TikTok is also one of those where I could post in a dark room late at night, like laying on my bed. And as long as the substance is good, it'll eventually get picked up. I don't know. Lighting is sort of one of those things if like the content of what you're saying isn't so good. But if it is, it truly doesn't matter. Like where you are, what you're wearing, any of your surroundings. In fact, the authenticity of it helps on TikTok.
Yeah.
The other things are like you can open with a crazy statement. That's not one of my things because I'm already talking about crazy stuff and there's only so much I can do. But movement or just having some sort of doing something, you're making a coffee or you're getting makeup. You have to think from the perspective of me as a viewer. What do I like to see? Right. And more often than not, when I'm scrolling, I'm like, oh, well, what's that person making?
Right.
You know? Right. But then what they're talking about is a second layer of keeping me engaged. And then maybe what I'm reading on the screen, so text or captions, is a third layer. So what you're really trying to do is engage a person by multiple different senses at any one given point, and that will naturally pull them in.
Interesting. Because as a content creator, I think when it comes to making content, I want it to look super clean, super nice, super sharp. And that's why I use cameras for this. As you see, we have,
this is so much fancier though.
Right. So I wanted to ask you, for that one video you had that blew up, what tools did you use to record it?
Just my iPhone.
Show us your iPhone.
Just my iPhone.
And how many views does that video have?
Hundreds of thousands at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's kind of a good point, guys. You don't always need to have professional cameras and high quality gear to get views and to create content. You can also just use your phone.
I think a lot of people who want to get into content creation feel like they need to have the best camera, the best mic, the best lighting, right? To be honest, that's all secondary in my opinion. That gets very important once you want to grow your audience. Yeah. You get serious about it. But to be a content creator, like Reema just said, she just used your phone. Yeah. And that video has hundreds of thousands of views, right?
Crazy.
And even my first YouTube video, it was just me. It was all filmed on my iPhone. In fact, majority of my videos are filmed on iPhone. Yeah. So I think people sometimes underestimate their phones and cameras on their phones, right? If you watch her video, and it's all going to be in the link in the description below for you to check that video out. It's just her applying makeup and it's just her speaking. But the messaging is so strong that's what matters. It's the substance, like you said earlier. That's what's really crucial. So just to get into content creation, you don't need all these tools. So that I thought was inspirational.
Yeah, you definitely don't. And I think that was a very big shift. I kind of mentioned this earlier that I had when I was posting content. Like what the difference between having 2,000 followers and just posting all of this stuff. Like I do have a Canon and I have a GoPro and I have whatever, but I don't use it. I don't need it. And I think that what happens is like the differential between having all this fancy gear, especially as it comes to TikTok, like there's no way I'm going to pull out a camera when I'm feeling like I have something to say because I don't really pre-plan my content. It's whatever's on my mind. And so having a phone is just so much easier. It's so much more authentic. There's no way I'm going to plug in an SD card and chop things up. Like then I just wouldn't post as much. And I would rather have very authentic, frequent posts than super fancy looking posts, even though I have the gear to do it.
And I can relate with that because I post a few videos on YouTube a week. If I had to use professional stuff like the equipment that you have, that would take me forever.
Yeah.
It would. I think it would like slow my workflow down by quite a bit. Just set
I agree.
everything up and all.
At creating, I'm one of the creators that really likes for viewers to see sharp images, good colors, 4K, amazing quality. Now, when I'm posting on TikTok, first off, I want to mention anything that I posted, I haven't used my phone. I either use the DJI Pocket 3 for short form content or these cameras. It is inconvenient to use those devices to make gear, but I'm so picky that I want it to look amazing.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It is easier to use the phone. For most people, it's probably what you should start off doing. But yeah.
And so let me ask you another question. How do you deal with like new topics? Because for example, you had one topic and it led to a lot of people asking questions, right? So sometimes you're going to take that question and use it as a segue to your next video. But how is it to plan? I know you say you don't really plan out content, but how do topics pop up? And when they do pop up, how soon do you record them?
Yeah. So typically what happens is like, if people are asking me things in my comment section, like my main focus is building a community. So I want to make sure that I'm answering everybody as quickly as I can, whether that's through text or a video response. So those get responded to pretty quickly. Say I have an idea and I'm mid workflow or I'm driving or something. I'm not joking. I use my notes app with the little bubbles, like the check mark bubbles, and I just have a running list of ideas. There are weeks where I feel way more in the flow of things. I feel like I have 17 ideas a day and I just post. But there are also weeks where I'm like, I have no idea what I want to talk about. And so I can reference that list and just sort of go through when I'm feeling really dry in my head.
Now, another question for you. So you use your phone to film, and you just say you use a notes app, right, to jot down your notes and thoughts, right? What other apps do you use to like edit, for an example, or helps you with your workflow?
Sometimes I directly edit in the TikTok app, and that's about it.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Really?
I just got TikTok a month ago. I don't know much.
And I thought I was bad with TikTok.
Yeah, I know. I really have stayed away from TikTok. You can edit in the app.
Yeah. So most of my videos are filmed within the TikTok app and I edit it. If there's something that I want to do like more vlog style, I'll use CapCut. And that's just sort of a fancier editing app.
CapCut's really nice, yeah.
I really like how user-friendly it is. I've tried some other things, but it was too fancy for my needs. So CapCut is really the only other thing that I'll use.
Interesting. Nice. Wow. Do you have an iPad that you edit on or create content with?
I have an iPad and I've never used it for content creation.
So that means you've never used the camera, right?
Yeah, I've never.
Okay. You guys see what I mean? In the first 2 episodes of Creators Today, we talked about who uses the iPad camera and just another person that doesn't. So
yeah.
we
have an ongoing joke that nobody uses the iPad camera.
Yeah.
And if you do, then we're gonna bully you.
It's probably children under 3 that are playing like.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just
funny.
a bunch of selfies.
Are you on YouTube?
No, I'm scared of YouTube.
Why?
Because I feel like I love that it's evergreen content. I really do. But the concept of YouTube is so much more formal than what I'm used to that I get a little bit nervous doing it. But for whatever reason, YouTube seems sort of like that, not unattainable, but like that level up of content creation where it feels like more of, there's more editing involved, there's more time involved. It's just a different world.
So YouTube does have YouTube Shorts. Why don't you take your TikToks and just post them on there?
Yeah.
Like the shorter ones.
That's like the second time I've ever heard of YouTube Shorts, and I literally forgot it existed.
Wow.
Do you want to explain what YouTube Shorts is?
Yeah. So it's basically, from what I see, it's like TikTok and Instagram Reels. You just scroll and scroll and scroll endlessly until your screen time is 10 hours. You just keep scrolling, and it's short form content that can entertain you. And if you don't like it, you scroll away.
People using that?
Yeah, I use it. Him and I post YouTube Shorts. I actually started back on YouTube a month and a half ago, and I started doing YouTube Shorts, and they did decent for a guy who hasn't been doing tech on YouTube for a while. And then after that, I gained some type of following, and I started doing long form, and it's doing all right.
And to be honest, you can get thousands of views on YouTube Shorts.
Yes, millions.
Yeah, because just like Instagram Reels and TikTok and stuff, some people don't have time to watch long videos, right? So a lot of content creators will trim their video into 60 seconds. and just post it as a vertical short, right?
That's true.
And to be very honest, a lot of people are watching them. And YouTube is now favoring shorts a lot more than ever before. There are some pages on YouTube, I kid you not, who have like millions of followers or subscribers, and they don't have any single video. It's just shorts.
Just shorts, yeah. I've heard that you don't want to record the video on TikTok and save it because you have the TikTok logo on your video, and YouTube may not favorite that. So for that, you may want to.
Instagram's the same way. They don't like the TikTok watermark, but you can actually save before you post without the watermark.
Perfect. Okay. AI is getting really powerful these days. If a creator forgets to do something, now it's no longer, oh, I forgot. It's really easy to attain. I was doing a photo shoot for a friend the other day in front of a farm, and I forgot to photograph them with the entire farm, right? The barn house. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just expanded the photo and typed in what I wanted. Boom, there's a farm. Like, it was awesome. You know, no one will know that.
So was that Adobe's generative fill?
Yeah, Photoshop beta. Yep. Generative expand for that feature, and I just did it like 6 times, and I like the 5th one. So
and just think about it this way: there was a time when people would post videos, right, and they would have to manually write out their captions. And now you, for an example, you'll have videos and your captions are auto-generated.
Yeah, it's kind of a little overwhelming, and that every social media platform is trying to monopolize the other. So for instance, TikTok, I just got a notification the other day, said you can now upload 60-minute videos.
Yeah.
And then they were also pushing out horizontal videos, obviously, because they're trying to move into YouTube.
Yeah.
Now YouTube has YouTube Shorts because they're trying to move in on TikTok. And Instagram can't figure out what the heck it's doing. And so you have people kind of posting whatever on reels and pictures and just dumping everything extra. So you have one piece of content that you're going to reuse, but is your audience very different from platform to platform? But then you have to do it because it's like, well, which one will reign?
Yeah,
you don't really know.
But even Snapchat, and apparently you can make some serious money on Snapchat. So people are creating content
Now
on Snapchat.
I don't have a Snapchat, but I've literally heard people are making so much money on Snapchat because they're trying to pull over from TikTok. There's just too many.
Crazy. Snapchat is one of my most favorite social medias.
Really? I barely use it.
Okay, I'll explain. Great segue.
Okay.
When I want to grab my iPhone to take a picture, now my camera loaded. That was too long. Now, if I have my home screen here, let's say I'm on the first page of my phone, all I have to do is open it, click, and there's my camera immediately. That, to me, that was quicker than using an iPhone camera because I don't have to slide and switch to video or slide and switch to photo. If I want to take a photo, I take it or I hold it down for a video.
You can do that on
You can do that on, yeah. You can hold in, like,
you can hold it.
Yeah.
That I know, but still, it takes a little too long for me.
But is the quality of the camera on Snapchat just...
It's lower. It's lower. But if I'm not trying to post a video on social media, to create content, I'm just showing people what I'm eating or something. I don't know. I prefer the Snapchat camera.
You just want the memory.
And then Snapchat does, to me, such a good job. What, you guys think I'm weird?
We got a Snapchatter here.
Yeah, it does such a good job at showing me my memories, holding, saving what I've taken. And then I can look at my messages too. Like, he goes, yo, appreciate it, bro. Like, okay, like, I just took a picture, saved it, look at a memory, and text.
So Kareem, that's called the photo album.
No, Snapchat is better, man.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if Kareem asks for your Snapchat, it's genuinely because he wants the memories.
Oh my gosh.
Sure. Remember?
I have no words.
Please.
Hey, if you're a Snapchatter like Kareem, more power to you.
Let us know in the comments what social media platform do you like better and why.
Memories.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I don't really like TikTok. I mean, it's cool for scrolling, but I never wanted it because it was another social media platform on my phone that I'm going to dedicate more time to. I don't really watch on there. I just post and I see how the content did. But for watching, I'm using Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat.
Yes, but TikTok has turned into so much more than just TikTok should not be free. I stand by this. The amount of perspective you can have on a singular app. I was just having someone that, followed me, and they're a full lawyer. And they're like, I learned so much more on TikTok than I did in 3 years getting my doctorate degree.
Oh, wow.
Because now, and when you're writing up papers or when you're trying to learn something, for instance, I was doing like a DIY garland for my sister's graduation party. I've never touched a garland before, okay? I'm not an artistic person by any means. That stuff intimidates the crap out of me. But if I look up DIY garland on TikTok, I can see so many people do it. And I can see it from various different angles, and I can see everyone's tips and tricks. And so the ones that I see that consistently pop up, that's what I use. And I have a really decent looking garland. So superficial, but there are certain things where you can connect with people. Like for instance, my content, connect with people that you never knew existed before on a level that is so deep. There are people that have mental health issues that are able to see like other people struggling, and they're like, no one else has understood me, but this has been so real. Women with PCOS or IUD insertions. There's all of a sudden this audience that you can connect with, and the amount of like learning that your mind gets to do. Now it can be very toxic, of course, in a ton of different ways, but the amount of perspective you can gain from that app and learn on that app. I'm going to law school. I just spent an hour studying how to brief a case on TikTok. I just watched people brief cases because it was making me nervous. Like, that's crazy.
I've learned a lot of my photography and videography editing skills from YouTube. I think there are certain platforms online that you can go to learn certain things. And I do feel like TikTok is a very good place to learn, because certain creators, like even me on Snapchat again, there's certain things I'm only going to post on Snapchat, right? So same thing with other people. They're like you mainly post on TikTok. So some people dedicate their content to one platform.
It also depends on the consumer, right? When you're consuming content, if you have 5 minutes and you want a nice detailed out video, you might go on YouTube, right? But if you want something quick, and this is what I really liked about Instagram Reels and TikTok videos, right? You can find out so much information within 60 seconds or less.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the crazy part. In a way, all of these social media platforms are like search engines, right? Like you can literally now on Instagram, before you had to search by hashtag, right? Now you just type in some keywords and you'll get content regarding those keywords. But I also want to ask you, Reema, when you started with that video, right? Did you ever think it would go this big?
I knew that it would take off. There was no way I could have foreseen how big. And that was my first video. The next couple also got hundreds of thousands of views. A month later, I posted I was like half asleep in a bed in Chicago responding to someone. It was it was less than a minute long, and it was such a weird video, honestly. It hit 1 million views.
Wow.
So it was just kind of like this weird thing where it just kept going viral. And so my page just kept growing, and I kept growing this community. My engagement rivals those with hundreds of thousands of followers, because people will come up to me in person and know me. You've seen
I've seen it, yeah. Hold on. We've gone places and people are like, are you Reema from TikTok?
Bro.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which, for like as small of a platform as I have, that's a powerful thing. And it's because of the content of people. Like, I relate to people. I care about the people. It's about the community and not necessarily like the number of followers. But my engagement is also super high. People feel like they know me. I could have never foreseen any of that.
Yeah. I was religiously following her videos, pun intended. No, it's great content. And I think what she does is that she's just straight to the point. And I think that's what people want nowadays. Just get straight to the point. Right. And I like it because when I first watched that video, all right, I'm like, talking about something so serious while doing makeup. What? But I was hooked. It's almost like I'm like, all right, what is she going to do next? Yeah. And I think that's a tactic people also use. So I don't know if that was strategic or not, but I was hooked because of the subject. And also, like she said, when you're doing something, people kind of like seeing that. So was it a tactic?
It wasn't intentional strategy. It was more comfort for myself.
Yeah.
But it was a very quick learning that was a way to engage people. And you're such a guy for saying that, because it was skincare. Someone started a Reddit thread on about me saying the very, like, oh my gosh, Reema's saying all this serious stuff. Like, and then someone commented later that was like, yeah, but the makeup is kind of distracting. I'm like, that's such a man thing. It was skincare.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've watched videos learning about random stuff. Like oftentimes when I'm scrolling, if I don't have anything to do, I'm learning about like random specific topics like law, finance, whatever. When I'm watching those videos, half the screen is Dave Ramsey talking. The other half is a guy playing a video game. I'm watching the whole time the video game, but I'm listening to him. Yeah. Because watching him is boring, but seeing this is like, oh, how did he jump that? Or how did he, look, move past it while I'm learning. It's cool. It's smart. It works.
Yeah.
Voiceovers are very similar because you can have shorter clips of things, so you're visually engaged, but you can't speak while you're having 1-second clips or pointing clips. So when you voice over, you're hearing someone with many different angles. So that's something that I'll play with sometimes. It's a lot of like trial and error. I do think there's a little bit of strategy in that, like, when I'm doing my makeup, it's because I'm trying to cultivate a community of women, of like-minded women. And the men that come along that are interested in the content that I have to say, that's cool. You can stick around if you're willing to watch me do my makeup and whatever. That takes a certain type of person that resonates. And that's fine. You're more than welcome on my page. But the more like extremist Wahhabi type men, it kind of gets rid of them and it filters them out in a way. So it's just a little bit of a tactic.
I like it now. Now when Reema posts, I'm like expecting like some drop cream, and it's because for me, I go for the messaging, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I enjoy it. I don't know what she's really applying.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it.
You have a whole wife.
I don't get it. So it's just it's like it's cool, and I think that a lot of people are doing that now more than ever before. Where action and good messaging combine that together, and you get more engagement.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's, I mean, rather than someone just sit and talk, right, and just look straight into the camera for 60 seconds and just talk, that's not fun, right? You want some sort of engagement. And I think our brain is constantly like, all right, we want to see something. We want someone doing something.
I do think it's a funny dichotomy of talking about something so heavy while doing something so frivolous.
That is funny.
It is really odd, but I think it parallels my personality very well, which is that when I'm speaking, I'm often speaking or thinking about things that are a little bit heavy or whatever it might be. But I'm a very casual sort of demeanor. Like, I don't really have a very serious aura to me. And that sort of is what shows in my videos. Like, I'm doing makeup, but I'm also talking about religion and faith, which is very personal, very heavy. Some instances that I've been through, situations that are not at all chill, but you know, it's at least like people are able to sort of digest it a little bit easier. And it's not to make light of anything. It truly is just a reflection of who I am.
I mean, look, the world today is very public and confident with their thoughts and views, right? Liberals or certain types of people are very confident when they say things. They don't mind sharing their point of view. So we have just as much of a right to share our point of view because the whole world is doing it. Maybe the whole world may not agree with us, but I think if you're passionate about something and you want to talk about it, you should have every right to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's scary, though. I will say that. It is scary.
Of course it is, yeah.
Because what Reema has done, I think, is absolutely beautiful. The two things I always stay away from is religion and politics, right? I just stay away from that. But I feel like at the same time, you have every right to display that to people, right? Do it respectfully. And I think that's what you do really. She does a really good job at that. She's very respectful towards the community that she's left. And I want to ask you that when you're saying certain things, right? Do you have to pause and say, okay, maybe I should not have said that. Maybe I need to go back and maybe rephrase things, because sometimes creatively that kind of restricts us, because it's like we want to say something, this is the way it should be said, right? But at the same time, you're like, okay, but this can be a little too harsh. Have you been in those situations where you're saying something and you're like, you have to watch yourself?
Maybe, but very rarely. I think when I'm more thinking about what I'm saying when I'm explaining things, because I want to make sure I can stand by what I'm saying. And I'm not obviously a scholar. I do take Islamic classes, but I'm not a scholar. And so I want to make sure that anything I'm saying is truthful and is just very true in its own content. But mostly what I try to talk about is my experience. And keep in mind, my parents watch my TikToks all the time.
And your parents are still in that community, right?
My parents are still in the small Shia subsect that I come from. So anything that I say with respect is keeping my parents in mind, and it's truly how I think. Like, of course, there are things that I would never bring up on the internet that are much more touchy, that I do have and hold strong opinions on. Obviously, I left, right? Like, that's natural. But how I present myself is really how I think. And so the only time I really take pause is when I'm like, wait, I want to make sure that that's correct in fact. But most of it is talking about my experience. And my experience is I do stay true to how my brain actually works. So there's not a whole lot. The other thing is, like, it is very, like, to your point, it is scary And it's probably what's holding you back. There's a lot of like cancelable things that you can say. But my community, I think, I'm never worried about being canceled per se, because I think my community understands that I'm living and learning. I'm a work in progress. And so I'm not worried about being canceled, because I think my audience perceives me as someone that is a constant work in progress. And I never try to say or claim to be the perfect version of a Muslim woman ever. And I won't ever achieve that. And I just try to do my best. And so I think that sort of resonates with people, and it's been doing okay so far. But yeah, it's always a tight line that you have to just bear in mind.
Let me ask you this, Reema, in our final closing thoughts, I guess, what is something you want our viewers to know, whether it's about content creation or your workflow, that people will feel like this is very important for us to know?
I think my biggest takeaway when my page actually started to become a community is you don't need the stuff.
Yeah.
I had all the stuff. You don't need the stuff. What you need is really just messaging and a reason to be on the internet. And if you can find those two things, and it doesn't need to be as controversial as faith, religion, politics. People do just well with just makeup videos or car videos or tech reviews or whatever it is. Yeah, you'll find people that like you for you. And as long as you're speaking to something that is truly genuine and authentic, you don't need the stuff. It's all noise.
Yeah, nice. Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. So, Reema, it was great having you on our show. And I think this was a very good episode.
It was.
I think it's going to be great for our viewers, because I think there was so much that you said that was, it's great to learn. And I feel like I learned a lot through Reema, just, just by talking. And so thank you so much for being on our show. And we can't wait for all of our viewers to, leave their thoughts in the comment section below and let us know what you thought about this episode.
Only if it's nice.
Absolutely. With that being said, I want to remind everyone, yes, this is a great production that you're watching with some nice cameras, and other people may use other cameras that aren't phones, but a lot of you have a phone. If you're waiting to get a camera to create content, just stop. Just go for it. Stop waiting, hesitating. Your next big moment can come from creating content from your phone. She's done it. He's done it. I've done it before. I don't do it now, but regardless, you can use your phone to create amazing content. And that's what we like talking about here on Creators Today. So
yeah, and if you want to watch that video that blew up Reema's TikTok page, the one that we kept referring to, it's down in the description below. So check it out and let us know what you think.
I've got much better at content creation.
Absolutely.
Like you said, we're a work in progress. So
this was an amazing episode 3 of Creators Today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Reema, for being our first guest. And look forward to making another video for you guys soon.